So
Welcome to
black.
the No Love Podcast, where we decrease tomorrow's divorce rate today by teaching singles and couples alike how to experience love on purpose and not by chance. I am your host, Edward L. Fairley, accompanied by my wonderful, lovely co-host, Michelle Larkin. Michelle, say hi to the people.
Hey world, welcome to No Love the
Before we even get started, it was something that I meant to do last week that slipped my mind, and I don't want to forget this week. So I definitely want to make sure that we do it in the intro of the show. Michelle has a lot going on. For those of you who speak to me outside of the actual No Love podcast and they ask about Michelle and things of that nature, she has her own platform, her own company, and I wanted to give her an opportunity to share where you can see her works and things of that nature, and even works that we've done prior to this. Michelle, go ahead and you take the floor and share with the people what you have going on, where they can seek or search for you, and things of that nature.
First of all, I am humbled by the interest and grateful for the opportunity to share some of the experiences that I've had over my career and over my lifetime, to include a lot of this no love content. So Eddie and I have been together for a long time. So we've been doing videos and podcasts. You can find me, which is Yumi Connections, UMI Connections with an S, on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, under my name, and that's it, and my website. So it's umi-connections.com. And I have this really cool video that a couple of questions in the past YouTube, our conversations on Facebook have asked kind of what was my journey like? How did I get to this position where I can talk so freely about my own personal relationships and the growth and stuff that I've gone through? So I had done a presentation a while ago called I Am Enough. And I really wanted to share it with you guys because it would allow you to get a little bit more insight without me having to go deep during these conversations with Eddie, because we are focused on no love. So you can find me if you put in YouTube, UMI Connections, comma, I Am Enough. The video should come right up. Or if you look for Yumi Connections YouTube channel, it's out there as well. So hopefully we connect. You can hit me up just like you can hit Eddie up on any of those platforms. But I just wanted to give you a chance to get some insight without taking away from this show. It's a great story, still going, lots more chapters ahead, and let's get started, sir.
That would not take anything from the show. It would just add to the show. So let me go ahead and make sure that that's clear. Second, please explain what Yumi means. Why did you name it Yumi, please?
Because I have some really creative children. I love them all. And they have known their mother for a long time. I wonder how. But they, so I came back from an event and they were like, we were talking about starting a company or whatever. And I said, it's about connections and this is what I do. And I was coming up with Pillar and all these other kind of weird names. And my daughter said, well, why don't you just name it, you, since you connect other people and you and me connect, why don't you just call it, you, me connect. And I was like, oh, and then we just kind of played around with it and became UMI, which is basically you and I connect through Yumi. You and I connect. But you and me connect. So it's Yumi Connections. I'm all about connections. I see everything as blocks, as strategy, as things that come together. But to be honest, this is a really it's come up over time that the real reason, the root of it, as my friend Eddie would say, the real root of it is because I had a lack of connection as a child and a young person, and I don't want anybody to ever have the same experience of not feeling seen or heard or valued. So I've created this space where I can make sure I connect people by helping them kind of be seen and heard and valued. One of the things I'm a midwife of ideas. So if you have an idea, I can get it out. I'm not raising the baby, but I can help you birth the baby.
I'm a product of that.
Yes. Oh my God. And we were so excited this weekend when we got to hang out. I was like, the game is coming. Like, I just love that the game is out. The app is coming. Like, I remember when this kind of conversation when no love was just an idea. We had the conversation where we came up with no love. And I was like, yes. So again, this, you see the joy that comes from birthing someone's idea. Like, it literally is the midwife process of being alongside of and believing with and encouraging people. And that's what I feel is connection. If I can connect to you, if I can connect you to your vision, it's inevitable. Success is inevitable. That's my story. That's what I do.
Most certainly. And this is more of the just professional career type setup, and her assisting with you, as she stated, birthing your dreams, or just climbing up the actual corporate ladder, so to speak. And just to show how much it coincides with each other, we've done multiple videos, which you'll find once you go to Yumi Connections, showing how what I teach from a relationship standpoint bleeds over into the
Corporate
relationship.
space. Relationships are relationships, whether they're in the office or whether they're romantic. And I have had my own journey to my, romantic relationship epiphanies, but those epiphanies have translated as a manager, a corporate position, and board person, into using those same principles in the workplace. And to be honest, the evolution of a relationship is the evolution of a relationship. And all of these principles, whether it's trust and assuming good intent and loving yourself first, and all of those things are critical to having success in the workplace as well as in success in a relationship.
Exactly. Because I can assure you, if you're not happy at home or by yourself, you're bringing that to the workplace. So love starts with it and at home. So yeah, please check that out. Please share that again for those who might be writing it down. Speaking of that, the two people that speak to me about you the most are looking right now, the lovely Tila J and Miss Lisa Robinson. Those are the two persons who speak about you the most. So those are the two persons that always talk about you, actually.
I am Yumi Connections. That's what I am. This is No Love, and I'm Yumi Connections, and we partner. But you can find me at UMI-connections with an S.com. And every other platform that I'm connected to is connected on that site. So if you start there, you can go anywhere.
Perfect. Let's jump into this topic. This is a topic. And wait till now, I've been intentional about not sharing with Michelle what the actual topic is, because I want the conversation to be organic, like her and I typically have these random conversations when we meet up. Matter of fact, I was blessed with her presence this past weekend.
We had so much fun. I love my brother. I love my brother and his family. All of them.
So we had
gave me ice cream.
And yeah, interesting. And that's all she now.
That's all
very easy to please. She said, all I want is for some Neapolitan ice cream. That's all I asked for you to have. And me and my wife, well, actually, my wife said, I think we can handle that. Tila said she got your information, so she wrote it down. She said, thank you. So this topic here, I'm waiting to see Michelle's facial expression if she hasn't looked on live yet. But the actual topic of discussion, and again, I don't share anymore. We used to, but I could tell that she had formulated a thought process. And even with you all, I used to share what the topic was going to be. And I don't want you all coming into these things with preconceived notions or concluding I don't need to watch this or listen to this show because I already have the answer to it. So the actual topic today is the God complex. The God complex. Yeah, the God complex. And this is very interesting. And Michelle always wants me to talk about the actual triangle, where this would lie
behind his head, by the way.
And I would have to say that this would probably be in the relationship / the portion after the foundation, which is self-interest or self-love, which in turn transitions to selflessness. So this would be the selflessness portion when you have advanced to a relationship with someone. And this is typically one of the reasons why people have an issue or problem or prevent themselves from being able to transition from being in a relationship to getting married. This God complex that we're going to be talking about is something that prevents people from transitioning from that selflessness portion to the self-evolution, meaning you have found someone that you're married with, in the way to maintain, sustain, and succeed in that respective aspect of relationships, which is marriage, is to evolve and just be successful in the thing called that particular relationship. So the God complex. First, we're going to start with defining what it is and the different ways that it looks. And then we'll address why it typically doesn't work, because sometimes people get lucky and it works out. So I'm not saying that it could never work, but I'm saying that the probability or the chances of it working are very, very, very low, minuscule, slim to none. So let's define what the God complex is. The God complex is when people pick people based on their potential, not who they already are, with the mindset that they can change them to who they want them to be or love them to their potential. We've had this conversation because this has been a struggle for
me,
Michelle, as I assisted her in this. So we'll ultimately get to the revelation that she had in this process, but this has been all right. So I'm gonna define this again, what the God complex is, and then we'll go over what that could look like, and then we'll discuss and break down why it typically does not work. So the God complex is when people pick people based on their potential, not who they already are, with the mindset that they can change them to who they want them to be or love them to their potential. And this, go ahead. No, please.
No. I'm just worshiping over here. That's all. So, just do your thing. I'm just so grateful to be free. I don't know what to do with myself.
Okay.
I'm just having a moment.
Okay. All right.
Just keep doing it. Yeah.
First, I want to talk about what this can look like. And first, I want to go straight for the jugular, because sometimes this is a very painful decision that you make. I've seen a lot of people who become abused because they think they can love someone past their abusive tendencies and things of that nature, or they make a promise because they were reeled into being a victim of people leaving them or abandoning them. So they make this promise to them that they would never leave them or forsake them, so to speak, and they can love them past their abusive tendencies or issues. And so they stay thinking that they can love them past who that person is. And it's a very, very risky and unfortunately life-taking decision that some people make, thinking that they can love someone past who they are or love them to become who they want them to be. So I really want to start with that. And if you made that decision whereby you have made a covenant, or you have decided that you are going to stick with this person, that you've made a promise that you would never leave them because they told you this story about how other people don't believe in them or don't love them, and you are in this abusive situation because you are a person of integrity and you keep your word and you made a promise to someone, you need to get out. You need to save yourself. You should not be in any kind of abusive relationship. And when I say get out, I'm saying you need to remove yourself from that situation as soon as you can, because you should not be in harm's way to try to maintain a promise or sustain a promise that you kept with someone in hopes that they would change. Matter of fact, you leaving may very well be what they need to change. Sometimes people try to shift a season and make it a permanent thing when it was actually a seasonal relationship. And it was you and your decision making that's preventing them from becoming who they want them to be. I understand that you would prefer them to become that person with you, but it might take you to take a stance so that they can become who it is that you aspire for them to be, even if it's something good for them. Go ahead, Michelle.
I just wanted to make sure I was clear on abusive and that you were what you were kind of referring to. And I think that you cleared that up for me. But there's a difference between being able to make an adjustment in a relationship where you started with a misconceived notion of trying to change their perspective, their potential into reality, and then being somewhere where you've stayed one day or more past the expiration date of possibility and have kind of put yourself in harm's way, feeling, and having been through a little bit of that, feeling obligated to hold up your end of the bargain when you're really being in an abuse situation and being taken advantage of and hurtful in the long run. And that's very different. And you can tell, when you're in an abusive relationship, and that space and time is a reasonable expectation, regardless of, week space and time is reasonable. You got to take it for yourself, because you can't be any help to anybody if you're not healthy.
Exactly right. And I'm talking verbal, mental, and physical abuse. And typically it starts off mentally and verbally, so much so that they actually influence your thought process to think that what is happening is okay or normal, or that you are less than, so that you deserve what is actually escalating to something worse than just the verbal abuse. So I am referencing that type of abuse. So before it even escalates to that, I would hope that you did not make that type of a promise. But if you did, it is really okay. It's a promise that is worth breaking for your safety and for your health. So I wanted to first address that, because I deal with a lot of people. I hate to use the word deal, but I encounter a lot of people that actually are in a lot of abusive relationships because they made a promise and they are willing to and think that they can love a person past their issues or who they are, and it's just not necessarily so. That's for them to do, or come to the conclusion that they have a problem for them to transition. And if you stay in that type of environment, you're just affirming that in their mind what they're doing is correct. And it might take for you to transition to assist in them realizing that that's not how you treat anyone. So that's one of the things. Another thing is, now we've discussed, you should have, when you're making a decision, when you're going from the dating phase, you should already start in the dating phase with self-interest or self-love, so much so that you already have a list of things, characteristics, morals, values, principles that the respective person that you are looking to advance the relationship with has before you make that transition. What happens is, in life, we typically go through the motions for such a long period of time, which people who play my simulation, they get so frustrated in such a short period of time. And I'm like, people are dealing with this for years. But you get to the point where you have this list in mind, and because you finally found someone that might have had the most of all of the things, you kind of make an exception or say, well, I can work with that, or I can help get him or her to get on board with this so we can get her right. Or, some people say, oh, that's all right. I can fix that. So they see the person.
If they love me, they will.
Yeah, or if they love, they will, most certainly. So they go into it with the mindset of, I already know that this is a problem, but I'm pretty sure I can take care of that, or I can work with that, or I'll get him or her in line after a while. And that's even an abusive relationship. So that's typically what the mindset is of the person. So be mindful of that when I get to the end of the actual show. So then you have the person that it is like, okay, they might not be working. They might not be a person that's domesticated or cooks or cleans, and they're like, well, you know, I can, as she stated, I can love him or her to get their act together, and ultimately they'll actually love me and decide or start to do these things. And so that's another form of the God complex. Now, when I say God complex, this is not necessarily of God, and I'll get to that, but it's the mindset that we have that God is like, where he's manipulating things and shifting things around.
He's forming
things to become what it is that he would want, which is not how God works at all. And that's a whole nother conversation, which I might touch into.
Might have to skip across that one.
Yeah. So I'll definitely discuss that a little bit later. But right now, I'm just trying to help people see where they might possibly be a person who practices the God complex. So
I know. Trust me.
Do you have any other examples that you want to share before I go into why this typically does not work out for you? Or does any of the listeners that are live have anything they want to share? Go ahead.
You can tell if you're guilty of this if you're a perfectionist. Just by nature. If you describe yourself as a perfectionist or driven, it's highly likely that you sometimes trip over into the God complex because you want things a certain way. And in order to get that, you will use creative means to get people to do it. Or if you are, and I'm speaking on myself, so if you are excellent at inspiring people, right? So if you follow, or managing people, and you see this person that you love, and they only have this one area of weakness, and if they just could, if you could just get some time with them, and if you could just get them to see your point of view, they would be so much better if they would just do this one little thing. He's everything, but he's not domesticated. If I could just show him how the structure of, a list could just change his life, and he will, it's just, again, little things like that, but it turns into things like, if I could just show him how to work 9 to 5, he would be okay. If he could see me doing it, then he would want to do it. Just.
This is real. This is so real. Hey.
If I could just get him to see my point of view, then his eyes would be enlightened. The eyes of his understanding would be enlightened, and he would be created a new creature in my image. Amen. Michelle, verse 2, chapter 7.
Hey, it's interesting that you say it, because typically when I deal with having to show people that they are a victim of the God complex, well, not a victim, they are manipulating.
They're the puppet master. If you're a puppet master in any area of your life, you're going to be a puppet master too.
Yeah, typically the person who is consistently in relationships that align with this God complex that we're referencing, they are professionals, or they're successful, and they end up with
successful in the area that they are puppeting in. They be nailing it. They be killing it. They begin to do it.
Well, I mean, successful in general. They've succeeded at everything. Business, making the basketball team, the track team, the debate team, the whatever team, they've been successful at, as you stated, inspiring, managing, coaching, training persons. So they are accustomed to actually creating or meeting goals that are met mentally in their minds, and they bring to life. So I can't even negate the fact that us as human beings, that is actually, we are creators. That's why if I tell everyone to close your eyes and don't think of an elephant, you're going to think about or visualize an elephant, because we automatically create. We can't not do something. So if you're saying I don't want to be like my dad, the only thing that you can create like my dad. So the best thing that you can do is say what you want to be or aspire to be, because you can't not do something. You can only do something. So since children, we learn to do different things to manipulate circumstances to get what we want in our lives. As children, we cry and we get our pamper changed. We get our pacifier. We get a bottle. So we cry and we do whatever it is that's necessary until we get what we want. Then we get older. As children, we'll ask and we'll do the same thing. Hey, mom, can I have some money for an icy? No, you cannot have money for an icy. So we're like, dang. So then we become strategic. We're like, oh, okay, well, let me look through the couch and see if there's some coins. We find some change in an ashtray or something like that. Then we go buy an icy. If we can't find the actual change, we will make some extremely sweet Kool-Aid or a drink, and we will freeze it, and we will invent and create an icy. And then when we become adults, we say, oh my goodness, if I could only get through this week, only to find ourselves a month or two later saying, man, if I could only get through this week, meaning we got through somehow, some way. We got through the previous hurdle or struggle that we were dealing with on that past or month or two or what have you. So I say all that to say that we live our lives individually as creators or as inventors to get what it is that we see in our mind to come to fruition. And so a person who has been successful in business, that is what they do. They've taken that from just a personal thing to building empires and being successful in the corporate world or in their respective business. So when they take that same mindset to a relationship and they start trying to manipulate persons that they're trying to show love to align with what they visualize that person to be or become, even though there's no evidence that that's who they are and there's no proof that they are who they think that they can change them or turn them to be. And oftentimes it is also because people present their representatives and give a lot of lip service and claim that they're who they say that they're going to be, and they believe that as opposed to believing the evidence in which they shared. So now that we've pretty much defined what the God complex looks like, and those who are typically dealing with this, let's talk about why it doesn't work out well, or typically it won't work or work out well. The first is, let's say you are successful in changing them to who you had in mind for them to become. More than likely, they're going to resent you. They're going to resent you because they're not really feeling who they've become, because you've transitioned or turned them into this person that they're not really, because people are who they are. They can be inspired to become something, but more than likely, if you've manipulated them to doing this, and I hear this all the time, you know, a happy wife makes a happy life. And so that means that people are just being something that they don't want to be just to appease someone. And if that person has conformed and changed to who you told them or manipulated them to be, there's some resentment that is going on that ultimately is going to come to a head. I can assure you, just time itself is going to cause that person to either snap or go off, and there's going to be some serious tension. You might very well get what you want, but they are not happy. And if you are the only one happy, then the relationship is not going to work out at all. I see your mind going. What you thinking, Michelle?
Oh, lots of memories. One thing that you said that kind of triggered for me was, it's not so much that they resent it. It's easy to shift from boyfriend, girlfriend, or romantic relationship to codependency. Because if you are inspiring, motivating, and getting them to make moves in their life, and it's working and it's doing really well, you may find yourself in the stereotypical syndrome of like, I put you through medical school and now you're gone. Because there's a shift from the romantic exchange to an entitled almost, or I don't want to say entitled. It's more like coach and codependency. I'm just going to go codependency. And it doesn't mean, and both of you kind of can tolerate that for a while until you start looking for love. And then that person's not in this for love. They're in this for what they're getting. And then you have this interesting dynamic where you have to figure that out. And 9 times out of 10, you have coached them to success and they haven't coached you to anything. And you're like, what did I get out of this? So didn't really love each other. I don't know.
Tila, you said you really hate that saying. Are you talking about the happy wife, happy life saying? Is that what you're talking about when you say you really dislike that term or saying? That's the only thing I could think of, unless you're talking about something else. If you are talking about something else, please let me know. Matter of fact, if you're talking about the saying a happy wife is a happy life, you dislike that term or saying, let me know that as well. But yeah, you're exactly right. Now that's interesting because we're headed that way too. Because again, you can inspire people to do things, but if you are doing things out of love, you're not intentionally inspiring. Oh, she said yes. So is the happy wife, happy life. If someone is changing because you've inspired them to do so, and it was done out of love, that inspiration came not out of manipulation. It just came out of, I want to do that for that person. A great example of that is my wife. I am the cook in the house. I've always been the cook. Interestingly enough, my wife prayed for a husband or a man that could cook. She
Amen.
got me.
Thank you, Jesus.
So I am the cook in the house. My wife, when I met her, she did not cook. Her mom can cook very well. And I was not looking nor expecting for her to cook for me. I can cook for myself. Now, I do need to know that she can make a meal for my children, but I don't expect for her to be an extravagant cooker and put all of these meals together. So I remember when I initially got married, I would cook a lot or all the time, still do. And her mom would say things like, well, when you going to tell your wife she need to cook or have your wife cook with her? And I'm like, well, first of all, I don't remember my wife ever cooking before we got married. So why would I expect or look for her to cook for me now? And so her mom was like, well, she need to go cook something. I'm like, that's her choice, but it's not anything that I need for her to do, nor am I looking for her to do. Now, as my business and life and stuff got busier, there's times where my wife just can sense that I'm tired and that I have a very, very busy day coming or something of that nature. And because she loves me, she will cook. I will come home. I didn't know that that's what she was doing. And she will cook whatever it is that she's best at cooking so that I will have something to eat and I won't have to come home to cook. That was not because I said, oh my gosh, oh my God, I'm a married man. I can't get a home cooked meal from this woman. It's because I have loved her to a place where she is inspired to where she wants to do for me something that she doesn't even typically do or want to do. That's what love is. Now, manipulation, on the other hand, that person is going to ultimately resent that because you've tricked them and you've manipulated the situation to get them to start doing something that you want them to do. And when people are doing stuff that they don't want to do, they are going to ultimately resent being that way. This is why people who come into a relationship as their representative, they get frustrated with you when you try to change them back to their representative. And they's like, why are you trying to change me? It's like, no, I'm not trying to change you. I'm trying to change you back to the person that you were acting like when I first got you. So they're just getting frustrated and starting to resent you for trying to change them back to the fake that they presented themselves as. And what I'm saying is, if you're successful at getting them to change to something that they're not, nor do they want to be, i.e., they don't have a job, they never had a job. When you saw them, you never seen proof of it. They might have told you that they had a job. You've never seen them really work or have evidence that they did work. And now you're expecting them to change. I highly recommend you believing what a person does as opposed to what they said or say, especially when you first meet them. So let the evidence of what they do, the fruit of who they are, be the representation of who they are as opposed to the lip service that they share. Be very observant and pay attention and make your decision as to whether you're going to transition and whether they align with your, what I call non-negotiable list or grocery list in my book. If you read my book, before you take that transition, you need to see it, not hear the lip service, see the fruit of them being who your non-negotiable list is before you transition. I see you thinking. What you thinking, Michelle?
I remember my younger years, and the part of the reason I got divorced was I was unable to change into the character that was expected. It was, and I'll just be transparent, having been raised to be a professional, right? So very educated family, professional family, and then getting married with the expectation to be a stay-at-home wife, and struggling with that whole trying to meet expectations and obligation and responsibility. I agreed to this. I walked down the aisle knowing that this is what was expected. I didn't, and then getting in there and keeping it up for a good amount of time, but then not being able to sustain it. And it's just from the receiving end, it's life. It just sucks the life out of you. I was depressed and suicidal because you can't be yourself, and because you can't. It's painful. From the person having a God complex, because it's not really intentional. It's not like you're trying to hurt somebody. It's not like it's almost learned behavior. It's almost like this is how I think that it's supposed to be, is that I tell you what I want and help you get to where I want you to be, and you do the same for me, and we just keep, God complexing each other. But there's this, when it's painful, when there's a part of you that's really struggling with your identity because of this relationship, and your identity and this relationship don't kind of go together, and you start crossing over, and you start bumping into your true self in a way that you feel trapped. It's real. Like you got to start checking yourself for that. Like, hey, wait a minute. I'm angry about this, and I can't say it because it's not acceptable to say it, because I went into this with my eyes open, but they're expecting me to do something I can't do, and I want to make them happy, and I want to do the right thing, and I don't want to fail at the relationship, but I'm not feeling like this is who I am. Like, that is a real struggle. That's real.
Yeah, it's so real. And that's why the foundational aspect of the triangle is imperative. You have to fall in love with yourself so that when you present yourself and then you're received, you don't have to change who you already are. You are in a relationship being who you are, loved as you are, and you don't have to change or conform or change yourself for that. That is why that foundational aspect of the triangle is so imperative. I'm glad that you shared that, but that is such a real state. And there's so many people that are trapped in that state. I appreciate your transparency. Second reason why this won't work well is because you'll end up resenting them for never changing to their potential. And this, you're like, why won't he get a job? It's like, he never got it. He never had a job.
He didn't get it.
Why won't
he cannot be taught? He cannot be taught.
He whatever, like, that is not who that person is. I mean, stop. But as we stated, and we think it's coming from a good place. Oh, but you should believe in people. People can change and all this. So this is what we tell ourselves in our mind to help us to keep on pushing and trudging along so that we can try to get this person to where I know they can be. And you can never want something more than someone else wants it, and it works out. It just doesn't work out that way. And that's for your children, that's for your spouse, that's for your family members, that's for everybody. Like, you cannot want something more than another person wants it. And this is why a lot of people, like I said, who are professionals, and then they start saying how men are trifling or women are trifling, and it's because you've made a decision to go into this relationship based off of someone's potential, as opposed to waiting for the right person who aligns with who you're looking for and going into a relationship with that particular person. Go ahead, Michelle.
So waiting is active. Waiting is not. Waiting's
Wow.
not sitting there, just hoping that they pass by because they come by on every other bus. You know.
I'm #9 in that. Hold on.
you know how in the old school they be like, another one come along every 5 minutes. You don't have to worry, there'll be another one. Waiting is not sitting at the bus stop hoping that the same the perfect one shows up. It's being the perfect one. You got to be the person you want. Like, just be. And that's not even easy, but waiting is active because you got to do the work to figure out who you are, so that you don't have to send your representative into the meeting, right? And then there's this coolness, and I am a recovering God complex habit. Like, I was the surgeon. You know that surgeon? They always say they got the God complex. They go to brain surgery, and they can do the most difficult surgeries, and they know they can save your life. So they go in there going, I know I can save your life. Like, but Jesus, what about God? They got to do with it. I am the agent of heaven. So just saying. So I get that. But no, shifting that gift that you have, because it is a gift, and if you have it, you have it. You know it's a gift, but it's realizing that gift isn't what is the base of the relationship. If you're, and I'm very blessed right now, the relationships I have and the relationship I'm in celebrates the gift and doesn't make it part of my identity. Okay, like when you're in a partnership and truly in that one where your representative has not showed up, but you're truly the person there, you can be that surgeon that really knows they can go in there and kill it. Like, they know they can get it done, but that is not who you are. That's what you do. And when you can make that separation, that who you are and what you do don't have to be the same thing, then you come to the relationship as who you are and what you do. Like, it's not like you don't have to separate one from the other. It's I do this and I am this other person.
I'm so glad you said that, because that is a necessary skill to bring to a relationship. I don't want the message to be missed. Now, I'm not saying that you should not take advantage of the opportunity to make things happen in your relationship. I'm saying you should get into a relationship that with someone that has the same vision, morals, values, and principles as you, and you two collectively use those gifts to bring the vision that you two share to life. But if you two have two different visions already, you already have an issue, because you two as individuals have been accustomed to bringing to life what you see in your mind. So now you have two different visions, and you're both trying to bring the same lifestyle that you've had as a single person, which is creating everything that you see in life, and you're both combating one another, which is where the issues begin. Go ahead, Michelle.
I would love to hear your feedback on this. So part of the I Am Enough presentation that I did was recognizing, for me, as my background was that marriage was the end all be all, right? So the epitome of success in life is finding your mate. And after that, you have arrived, and everything becomes about the mate, because you have achieved the pinnacle of success. However, marriage is it's not a destination. It's a state of being, right? So marriage, what you were saying is, well, if you're not trying to get to this thing and then put all your energy into this thing, like, you're not trying to get married, get to this person as your other part of your life, and then everything is about this person, like that's not truly living. That's kind of making a new God or a new complex out of something new, right? It's like that you suppose, as the triangle would represent, and I welcome your feedback, is that I am constantly supposed to be evolving. So that means I got to go out, do me, get my gift on, go out here and play, come back and say, oh, look what I did today. And they're supposed to do the same. Go out, do you, get your gift on, come back and say, oh, look what I did today. And add to that. I'm not saying it's either or. Add to that. Look at what we can do together, right? And that's not to say that you can't have a business together in that beat. But again, you still have to focus on you. You are two people in a relationship. It's not just get married and now all of everything's about what goes on in the house. Because an unhealthy focus on what is going on between these two people is an unbalanced life. Like I had heard this, and I think we were talking about this the other day, Eddie. And we don't get a chance to miss each other because we literally are communicating from the time we wake up to the time we go to sleep. If you go to work, you text when you get out the house, you text at lunch, you call in your break, you checking on to see what you're gonna do when you get home. You get home and I'm still talking to you. Like I haven't had a chance to break all day. Like, so I'm always with you. Like, is that the epitome of love? I'm not sure. So I wanted to throw that out there and see what your thoughts were.
It's a great question, but you already answered it. The last triangle is self-evolution. It always goes back to self. When you become a married couple or union, it is living harmoniously as individuals. Living harmoniously as individuals. Harmony are two different things making one lovely sound, but they're still two individuals. So if you have a band or an orchestra, there are different things staying true to who they are. Baritone horn, bass, trumpet, saxophone, flute, clarinet, all of those things have their own notes, their own melodies, but they make one beautiful song together collectively. And that is what a relationship or a marriage or what people conclude is the end game, but that is the beginning, actually.
It is the beginning. It is the beginning of a very long, wonderful song.
Most certainly. It most certainly, but at the same token, what people fail to realize is what the marriage does, it puts up a mirror. It makes you see you where you have not seen yourself before.
If you're self-reflective and you're not doing a God complex, or I'm just trying to fix you.
But at the same token, the fact that you're doing that is a mirror in itself. The conflict is
when they start tripping.
The conflict is you seeing where you lack, whether it be in communication, in domestication, in education, any kind of Asian. Like you're putting an actual mirror up that is causing you to see yourself, which is why you need to evolve to better yourself. Now, I can't stress you're living harmoniously together as individuals, meaning you need to maintain your identity. Your identity should not be the union. You should be a part of the union, but that should not make you who you are. Like you know me very well. The most offensive thing you could ask me is, where is my other half? Like I despise that thought process. I am all me, and I will remain all me. Whether she passes away or she leaves me, I'm going to always be all of me. And the problem with that is, and I see this quite often, and it's sad, it's a sad thing to watch, is people's spouses die or they get a divorce and they don't know what to do with their life. Because as you very well stated, they put everything that they had into that marriage. That was all that they did. That is all they thought. I need to take care of him. I need to take care of the children. I need to take care of her. It was all about me taking care of this thing called marriage. This is what the finish line looked like. So I have to really maintain. I have
to stop and build a house there. I can't grow. That's the destination. So we're gonna stop, put down camp. That's it.
I'm intentional about one-on-one and personal time, and you know this better than a lot of people. Like, no, I have carved out time for me. And one thing that I'm really concerned about, and I'm really trying to figure out how to do this for my wife, is I don't know how to create that solitude for her. She is so in it. Like, even when we take a vacation or leave, she's still thinking about home or the kids. And I'm like, yo, we're gone. It's just, you're not thinking about the kids at all. I'm not thinking about the kids at all. But the crazy thing about it is she'll be home and she's like, man, I can't get a break. And I'm like, if I tell you to go get a break, you don't know what to do. And if we do take a break, you're asking about what we're breaking from. It's like, I really want to find that thing that my wife can do for her to have her own time to just free herself and recharge or refill, because I'm intentional about it. I literally have carved out time for me to refill and keep my well full, because I can't pour into y'all if I'm empty. So I have to consistently and intentionally pour into myself or get filled in order for me to share with anyone.
And honestly,
my wife.
isn't that what we're saying in a relationship? You need to fill up so you can give back, even in a intimate space. Like you have to. Honestly, isn't it? My personal experience. You can tell me if it's yours because you're married. I'm not right now, but but I might be. But so there's like this really coolness around having something new to say because you did something different without the person, and you're bringing something back to the conversation that you both get to kind of chew on, right? So like you're curious to know what they did during the day, like that you weren't there to see, and you didn't get a text about in the middle of the day. Like oh, what did you do that, and how did you see that, and oh, that is different, and oh, that's pretty cool. Like you lose that if you don't give them the space to just be without the fear that they're doing something crazy, or that without your supervision they're gonna wander off the reservation. Like that's not always true. Sometimes, like you said, you just want to be away. And I guess, how do you be in a safe place where you can encourage that? I think I've always liked, and I'll be very strong personalities because I am a coach type, or I have the tendency to have a God complex. Let me just put that. So I need and like, and I'm attracted to very strong people who are quick to say, absolutely not doing it. Love that personality. Because I'll be like, what you mean? Either I got to work harder, or I'm just going to go, thank you so much for letting me off the hook. I appreciate that you said no. But it took a long time not to want to break the spirit. Like, it was almost like breaking the spirit of a stallion, right? Like, so it's like breaking in a horse. Like, you loved the wildness of a horse, but then there was this thing that makes you want to tame it so you could ride it. Like, and then you're like, but it lost some of its stuff because it's no longer wild. It's just kind of, okay, if you want to put the saddle on, okay. You lose that.
You have no idea what you're segueing into the last point. But before I even get to the last point, I'm going to say this because I don't want this to be missed. Because you said that a lot of people's thought process is the end game is marriage. No, the end game is to fall in love with yourself. That is the end game. This is why this setup is so important, and I intentionally did it this way because we're on two totally ends of the spectrum, yet we are both representatives of no love. Mm-hmm. You are no love in a sense that you are single and you have fallen in love with yourself.
A whole person without exactly, the other, a whole person.
Then as far as the marriage is concerned, you remain that whole person who's in love with yourself, and you find someone who loves who you are, and you also have found someone that you love who they are, and you two collectively, as Miss Lisa stated, #9, living harmoniously together as individuals and staying true to who you are. You two collectively live together harmoniously because you love who each other are, and you have a vision that you two share that you want to bring to fruition collectively together, but without compromising who you are as individuals in whom you love, which in turn will force respect to sustain itself in the actual relationship, because you've come into the relationship with respect for yourself, because you will not accept anything less than that if you really love yourself. So now, based on what you said, I have to share the third and final reason why this does not work well, the God complex. And it's because of this. At the core, those who have a God complex typically are project focused. Yep. And the reason why this will not work is because you are really project oriented, and because you no longer have nothing to fix. If they change, you'll get bored with the relationship.
Woo! Yes.
So what's happening is, this is where it really sucks. Say you actually did all of that work and they finally got to the place that you wanted them to be. Just because your motive was not really that you love them, it was to see them get to that place. You have now finished the project. And this is the revelation that I had to have for Michelle, because she is a fixer, a builder, and she has consistently helped persons who did not meet their potential get to their potential through their business and birth their business or their success in their respective position in a corporation. And after that is done, she moves on to the next one like an inventor would. And if she is to get into a relationship whereby she took that approach, by the time she's finished getting to that person, and I'm not talking about her anymore, I'm talking about to that person who has a God complex, what's happening is you have now gotten them to the place in which you saw in your mind. And now that they're there, you have nothing else to work on or build or create, which in turn is going to ruin the relationship, because you're not going to be interested anymore, because you've taken that mindset of what you use for business, tried to bring it to a relationship. And when you got it in the relationship, there was no need for the relationship anymore, because you have concluded the season in which you have invested in, and there's no longer any kind of thing that is keeping you wanting to be at that place anymore. So if you happen to succeed at or surpass the person being resented because they changed, if you happen to surpass the fact that you are not resentful because they have now made it, if you did get to that person getting to where you aspire for them to become, you will no longer be interested in that relationship, because you never went into it from a loving state in the first place. You went into it to create or start a project whereby when you finish the project is no longer entertaining or fun. This is why typically when people make it to their final destination, quote unquote success, their dream, they start to lose themselves, because it is the actual drive to get to that particular place that is way more fun than the destination, which is why you should consistently create more goals and things of that nature, which is why self-evolution is the actual last portion of the triangle, because when you become a new person, you remain interesting, which is what you were talking about earlier. So if you know everything that went on throughout the day, you text everything and what have you, and there's nothing new about you, you are predictable, which means you're not interesting, which means sex sucks, which means conversations suck, which means life sucks, which means it's over. You might be existing together, but you are not living together. Go ahead, Michelle.
I was actually thinking, first of all, it's terrible. Sex can't suck. But anyway, I mean, I don't know. But
Oh my God.
can't wait to have that podcast. But there was something that you said that really resonated with me, and I say that because I'm a runner, and I said this before, right, in another podcast. I'm a runner, and part of the running was when you get to the end of the project, what am I doing? Because before becoming this self-aware, painfully self-aware, I wasn't able to kind of let the person in. So, I mean, because it was really just, I got a lot of affirmation and of making the other person feel good, or making the other person happy, or helping them achieve their goals. I got more joy out of giving than receiving. And again, like I said, this is not intentional. Like, people don't go in here like I'm going to have a God complex and I'm going to suck the life out of you and I'm going to get tired of you when I'm done with my project. Like, that's not like the plan when you go in. So, but at the same time, when you get so much joy out of giving, it's very easy to get empty, because you've given it all and you've never asked for anything, because you were so busy on the project and you were so busy on the focus and you saw the progress and everything. And then halfway through, you're going, how come do they love me? They never tell me that they love me. They never offered to help me with anything. They never like asked me if I'm okay. And you're like, you didn't say you had a problem. You were just so busy presenting fix, that the person got caught in receiver. And so what I wanted to say though was that being able to acknowledge this has made me a better person. And it's made me more aware of when to throttle back. Not necessarily to run, but just throttle back. Because I can't say that this is ever going to be out of me. It's a gift, right? So it's a gift. It's always going to come up. But knowing that I have triggers and I know how it feels to be in the God complex. So I can go, oh, I'm totally running your life right now. Okay? So you have the option to say, I don't want to do it. But I have clicked on into, this is what you should do. And so in my very healthy relationship right now, it's kind of like, so I hear you, and some good points there, and I'll get back to you. And I'm like, but it has allowed it, and even with you, Eddie, like I'm just like, you should just do that. And he's like, some good points there, and I'll think about it, and I'll let you know. Like at first, that used to hurt. Because it was like, what do you mean? I thought about this. I'm right. And now it's like, you know what? I respect the fact that you didn't just bow down and say, you're absolutely right. You were like, some of that was good. That makes sense. Some of it doesn't for me. And I'll get back to you on that. Like, it's a good thing, is all I'm saying. It's a good thing when you can recognize that you have tripped over into a God complex, check yourself a little bit with the response and went, okay. So it's not an incurable disease, is all I'm saying. It's not an incurable disease. It's an issue.
All right. So now to conclude this show, I'm really gonna to make a statement to go against the grain and to kind of comb or brush your hair the opposite way that you typically do, because interestingly enough. And the irony in all of this is the whole concept of no love is for you to become a person that has a God complex.
Go ahead with your oxymorons. Challenge us tonight, bro.
Now, when I say the God complex, I'm talking about in its truest form. First and foremost, let me help those who don't know understand the foundation of no love, and what no love, first of all, is. For my atheist people, sorry, you can stop listening from this point forward, because no love is the whole concept is a shout out to God. No love, God is love.
Love, and it's true.
He's the epitome of love. He's the existence, the manifestation. He is love. And me naming my company No Love, and the slogan behind No Love, if you ever read the small print under No Love, it says, from No Love, NOLOVE, to No Love, KNOWLOVE, is basically, you can literally replace everything with the word God. So it's no God, from no God to no, meaning understanding God, who is love. So I do want us to have a God complex, but in the context in which God is. Now, what I need people to understand is love is not manipulation, nor is God. Matter of fact, God is so much so that, all right, he's not manipulative, so much so that people make statements like, if God is real, how is the world so bad? That is your evidence that he is not manipulative. He is a person or being who loves you so much, he's going to allow you to make your own decisions in hopes that you fall in love with him and you start doing the right thing. But he's not manipulative to where he's going to force you to do the right thing. He's going to allow you to make poor decisions, unfortunately, in hopes that he loves you so much that you come to him and you make him, because you're inspired to, a dinner, even though you're not interested in making someone a dinner. My beautiful wife, Zanetta Fairley. That is what love does. Unconditional love will cause someone to do things that they typically would not do because they know everything there is to know about that person, which in turn makes them feel free enough to share everything with them and even want to do better because they are loved as who they are. So I do want, and the whole intent behind the No Love movement is for us to have a God complex. But in the context of what love is, and love is not manipulation. Everything that we talked about here was from a manipulative standpoint, talking about, okay, he doesn't have a job, or he doesn't have this, or she doesn't have this, but I can change that. That's manipulation. And everything that is done to get them to change is really for selfishness, not in a good way. It is so that I can be okay with whatever. It is not because you want them to be better. It's because I want this transaction to work out for me, because this is what I think I should have and walk around with. So I can go ahead and form her to who it is that I want her to be, or form or shape him to whom it is that I want him to be. I have a question. Hold on. It says, so how do you set boundaries to being a natural giver / helper and having that God complex? Michelle stated it's easy to cross the line. How do you make sure you don't cross the line? This is the question that was asked of Tila. So I'm gonna say that out loud again. So how do you set boundaries to being a natural giver / helper and having that God complex? That's a wonderful question, first and foremost. First, indirectly, you have something that you're trying to feed, clearly. So I think that you definitely need to feed the beast. And what I mean by that is, if you feel the need to be a helper or a giver, you need to go and do some community service. Go ahead and do some something from a standpoint of ministry, so that you can get that release that you're looking for. But if you're going into a relationship with that, that is a sign or trigger that you probably should not be going into that type of romantic relationship with that particular person. If you want to help someone out, that's great, but you should not be leading someone you need. And when it comes to relationships, you're technically leading each other to different places, and you should not necessarily need someone in the sense that that will advance you or propel you or get you to where you're trying to go. So you can't necessarily lead someone you need. So you should intentionally set yourself up to where you are doing some type of community service or ministry, so that you can actually fill that that gap or space that you need filled for fulfillment in serving or giving. Because that's not a bad thing, but it's a bad thing when it's manipulating a situation to try to appease you, especially from a relationship standpoint. Did I answer that question? Or not?
I have a comment when you
Go ahead, Michelle.
So being a giver and guilty of that, it's coming from the healing about this issue comes from really figuring out what it means for God to love you. And there's a moment, and it takes a minute when you realize that you have been loved in spite of, because of, and in addition to, and it's all kind of encompassing. And giving sometimes, the boundary is when you're giving to earn or compensate for or get. Those are my triggers for stop.
Yeah.
Because if I'm giving just because it feels good, I'm giving because I see that I have it, you need it, I got it, like it's no effort. But if I'm giving and there's a little bit of, I'm trying to compensate for a weakness or something I did, or I'm trying to earn something, or I'm trying to like I said, just feel something, then I stop. The other thing is, when I finally realized that I am loved, I just am loved. And I don't have to, because God is love, right? So I'm just loved, period, in the discussion. And I have a God that doesn't need me to fix everything. Mm-hmm. It's like not giving someone the privilege of giving you a gift. Like, because I don't need anything. I don't need anything. I don't need anything. Well, you're taking away the opportunity of them to experience what it's like to give. Mm-hmm. So the same thing is, if I'm always giving, I'm taking away the opportunity for God to step in and fix something for them, for me to even see that play out, for me to ask God, should I give this? Can I step back? And I will tell you, what's really cool is when you step back and God fills the void. So you think you have to fill the void, you think you have to fill the void, you think you have to fill the void, and then you step back and go, because you're feeling like I'm overcompensating or whatever, right? So you step back, and then the situation gets fixed anyway. Like, you're like, I didn't have to do that. Thank you. Some time off. Amen. Won't he do it? Yes.
And to add to what you just stated, which that was a great response. When you are giving, again, we've defined love multiple times, but love is not give and take. It's give and give. That's why God is the epitome of love. He so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. How can you repay that? You cannot. So that is a give, where there's nothing that you can do to give back. God said the world is jacked up. And I love the world so much, my people, that the price tag that I'm going to put on them is in their, as far as their value is concerned, is my own life. That is the story. God, who created all, because of the disconnection from a decision that was made, I want the relationship back so much, so badly, that they're worth my life. I will demote myself, become man, die as man, so that I can recreate the relationship in which I initially intended to have. That is my beliefs. Doesn't have to be yours, but that is love. That is something you cannot repay. You cannot repay someone else's life if they take their life for you. That is just love.
And you really can't earn love.
You can't earn that. No.
You can't pay for it.
No,
not a transactional situation.
Exactly. So if that's the best word, the best word to use to answer that. If what you're doing is transactional, meaning I'm doing this and I intend to get something back, even if it's fulfillment, that is not love. That's not love. It is it's
an exchange, and it's fair,
yeah,
and it works. It's an exchange, exactly. And it's part of human interaction, but it's not really love.
That's exactly right. So just be mindful of what love is, and that will create and set the boundaries, Tila. I hope that answers your question, but to act in love automatically sets boundaries. If you paid attention to this show earlier, when I said, when I came into it, it's automatically respect in that relationship because I came into it with love. Love causes boundaries to automatically create themselves. That's why it's the foundation of you going from dating to a relationship, because you need to first fall in love with yourself so that when you go into a relationship, you've already went into that relationship with boundaries, because you're not going to take anything less than what you aspire to have from a moral standpoint, a value standpoint, and a principle standpoint. Michelle? I
think that what to your point is at that realization that you're loved. It's kind of like for those people who may not have had that epiphany, right? It's kind of like when you see people whose parents have loved them their whole life, right? And they just come at life from a confident standpoint. They come at things from a very stable, they're very sure of themselves. If you don't like them or you don't agree with them, they're going home because they know where they can get love. You don't have to worry about that. And they tend to be most attractive because they're not needing anything. They're not needing that per se. So that's kind of like what we're saying is when you realize that you're loved at that deep space, you kind of carry yourself from a space of, I'm good. I can give to you and be okay. What's cool about the way that the principle of love works is that it's reciprocal. So you even if you give to this person and they don't give it back, it comes back to you. It doesn't. You will get it back. And the beauty of it is when you find that mate, that partner that is genuinely reciprocal, not because it's being transactional, but it's genuine. Like, I come here, I'm good, and I love you, and you love me back. And my broken pieces don't change how you feel about me. Your broken pieces don't make it flawed is fine. And your gift is great. My gift is great, and it's a process. Like, you can start from a confused space and get to a clear space as long as you can stay committed and converse about, like, talk about it. Like, I don't think that you can come to the altar perfect and then you just kind of float through life. Like, I I don't think that, and I don't think as a single whole person that I'm finished. I'm not finished, and that's cool. And I'm looking, when I'm with somebody, they don't have to be finished.
Yeah.
And that love doesn't require perfection. Love requires acceptance.
Yeah. It requires perfect love. It does not require perfection. And you will get it back, not in the sense that it's a give and take, but if the person loves you, it's automatically coming in the first place. And you'll also get it back because how you perceive is how you receive. Yep. Remember that show for those who have been listening? So you'll get it back. And oftentimes people miss out on the opportunity to receive it because they're not being, as Michelle stated earlier, who they would prefer for someone to be to them. So they don't even believe that it can happen. Again, you would have to go to that show to understand what I mean by that. But how you perceive is how you receive, which is why you would receive it back. And also, lastly, just even more evidence that people are walking not in love is the whole concept that you said a moment ago, whereby you stated that people won't even give because they feel like they're people, you're gonna owe them or they're gonna use that against you. That's because they've been victims of people doing things for them, not out of love. So they come back to you and say, well, remember, well, what about when I did this for you? Or when, so people are trying to avoid even going through that, so they won't even let people do anything for them because they've been burned by people who are manipulative as opposed to people who are loving.
And the only way you can get to that, once you are healed in here, the things that have happened to you in the past don't come into your current relationship because you're not bringing that forward. You're saying, I have been bruised in those ways before, and I'm still loved. So let me not take that forward and project it on you. Like, it happened. It's real. It happened. But I'm not going to attribute that to you because I'm going to let you be you and see how that works with us.
Yeah. So, Tila, she responded. She said, yeah, I meant to #9 that. I appreciate both responses. Thank you. So we did respond and answer her question adequately. With that being said, do you have any final thoughts about the topic to conclude this journey that we took today?
I like the word God. I like the words together, God complex, because God is complex.
Wow.
And that's cool.
Yeah, he's definitely complex, especially, and which is why I formed it this way, because I said God complex to where people like, yeah, I can see that, but it's in the mindset of how people view him in the first place. So people were able to jump on board when I gave the different examples of what God complex looked like in the beginning, but that really does not represent him accurately at all. And it's unfortunate because had it accurately represented him, we probably would have more of us trying to aspire to be like him, and we would have a better relationship, which is what this whole journey is about in the first place. So ultimately, this was a setup, as I typically do, in order for us to ultimately become persons with God complexes, so that we can better show and express love among one another, so that we can have ultimately a better world. I can't stress to you all enough how much I appreciate your minds and time. No one has to sit and listen to anything that it is that we have to say. I can assure you that I go in prayer, I go in preparation, and I even put what it is that I'm going to share up against a lot of things in hopes that I debunk or poke holes into anything that I'm changing or sharing, because I take this platform seriously. I take your lives and your love lives and just you as individuals seriously. So I can assure you, as I stated before, I will continue to pour into myself so that I can effectively pour into you. The last thing that I want is for my opinions to be shared as opposed to the truth being shared, which in turn will assist in us just creating a wonderful and loving world. With that being said, until we meet again, I'm going to stop saying next Thursday because life happens. But until we meet again, please continue to listen to the podcast if you're here. I know it might not be as consistent as you prefer it to be, but we're definitely coming back. We're not going to stop. Might not be. Yeah. So what you can do is subscribe to the actual page, and it will alert you when something comes up. So I appreciate your loyalty, your consistency, and your minds and time. Until we meet again, take care. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Good night. Bye.